Hey guys, it is Wednesday, August 31st. It is the end of August, finally, and we are glad to have you with us. We are here to talk about all things bar exam related. Megan, hi, how are you?
Hi, doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I am excited that we're finally getting out of August and we are entering the season of bar exam results as we turn into September. That's always exciting and interesting time to say the least, isn't it?
I know. I enjoy it. It's every day. Sometimes we know that there's results coming that day, and sometimes we just get surprises, which is always fun.
And there are some surprises that always happen. We're at that time of the year where we know a few states have dropped results and then a few just do it. They just appear and we're like, oh, there you go. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk a little bit about we've gotten the very first results and we're going to answer some student questions. And so we're glad to have those of you who are with us live on the call today. If you're watching later on replay, glad to have you with us as well. We're going to be on a regular Wednesday protocol now going forward as we start to get into the rhythm of the fall and heading towards February.
Lots of interesting things happening. We are also in the time frame, as you said, Jackson, where we're getting the results. And so what we will do here on the webinar is every time there are new results, we will update you with the information we have, which includes pass rates. So as much as information as we have, we'll give to you. And then I'll also let you know what states we believe are coming up in the next week. With the caveat that for a lot of states, they never announce when they actually are going to release. And so sometimes it's just you'll have to wait and see the next Wednesday what came out.
And they have this bad habit of releasing right after we record this.
Exactly. It is better note though now that we do it on Wednesdays instead. We used to do them on Fridays, and that Friday is a big bar exam results day. So yes, much better that used to be we'd record on a Friday afternoon and then all of a sudden a bunch of states would drop that night at 5 o'clock. All
Sometimes.
right, great. So let's move on to results. Not a lot to report this week as it's the very first beginning, but we do have West Virginia released. They had a 57% overall pass rate. That is consistent with last July. So there's nothing alarming in that. Obviously, West Virginia is a very small jurisdiction. I believe there was like 100 and something people who took the exam, but it is really helpful to always see, hey, with these early states that come in, is there a big difference? Did we see that it was a really difficult year, really easy? What's going on? So always a good sign when the numbers look similar. In West Virginia,
Yeah, let me just add, I think West Virginia is a UBE jurisdiction. So that is significant for us because we want to see what that number looks like. So what Megan's saying is that because the pass rate this year looks very similar to the pass rate from last July, that's a good early canary in the coal mine number for us, right?
exactly, albeit low, but we're used to low. That's the hard thing. In West Virginia, they did break it down further. So their first time takers had a 63% pass rate, and then their repeaters had an 18% pass rate. That is unfortunately, while it's very low, that is also in line with what we're used to seeing with repeat pass rates of for the last couple of years. So
We're going to look at about a 20% pass rate. That's for repeaters. That's what we would expect. Now, before anybody has a heart attack, our pass rate for celebration law review students who are repeat takers far exceeds that number. That's the national number. And so that's a number that Megan and I are watching very carefully in every jurisdiction where it's reported. We want to see what's happening in the repeat taker market. And 18% is a pretty miserable number, but not an inconsistent number.
exactly. All right. And then Wisconsin also released, but they have not released any data yet. So we don't know their pass rate percentage. I'll let you guys know when we do. Wisconsin is not a UBE jurisdiction. They're also a little different because if you went to a Wisconsin, if you went to Wisconsin law school and you're going to practice in Wisconsin, you actually don't have to take the bar exam. So it's a very odd jurisdiction in terms of not very predictive for the rest of the country anyway. But I want to let people know that those results were released. Upcoming, we have Iowa is going to release September 2nd, and Kansas will be either September 2nd or the 8th. So that's what we have upcoming. It's really quiet at the beginning of September. When we get to about mid-September, it starts to come a little bit more fast and furious. And we know, obviously, Florida, you're waiting for that mid-September. We will keep you guys updated, and next Wednesday, I'll have updates with any new information that we have on results.
And I would just say this as you're waiting for results, just stay calm. Don't get terribly worried about what you're hearing in social media or generally out there. The results will be the results. And so far, in these early numbers, we're not seeing anything that surprises us. We would expect a pass rate for repeaters around 20%. We would expect a pass rate for first time takers 60% or so in most jurisdictions. So those are the target benchmark numbers that we're looking for. If you see something wildly off of that, the first question to ask yourself is what's the sample size? If it's really small, don't worry too much about it.
Definitely. All right. So, as we're talking about results coming in and people who are maybe going to need to take the February exam, Jackson, let's talk about boot camp, which is coming up in October.
For those of you that don't know, prior to COVID, we did a couple of boot camps a year, which were live programs here in Celebration, Florida, 2 or 3 day kinds of training sessions. Now, post COVID, we're coming back on October 14th and 15th for a 2 day intensive workshop. Megan's going to join me and Judah's going to join me. And the three of us are going to be teaching in a very small environment. Now, we've done typically boot camps with 40, 50 or more students. For this particular boot camp, we made a decision to limit enrollment to 15 students. That's 1-5. And the reason for that is twofold. We wanted to be mindful of COVID and safety and health concerns. And secondly, we really wanted to give individual attention. What we've discovered over the years with boot camp is that the people that come to boot camp pass the bar exam. They just do it. And I don't know if it's a cause and effect or it's correlative, but one way or the other, people that are at boot camp tend to pass. So what we wanted to do was to provide really intensive instruction in a couple of areas. First, I'm going to be teaching the entire photo reading system to everyone that's there at boot camp. So whether you're a photo reader or not, I'm going to take you through and show you how to photo read. But then more importantly, because it's not all that difficult to teach photo reading, I'm going to show you how to apply photo reading to your for studies, specifically how to mind map, how to use photo reading for essay writing, how to use photo reading for the performance test if that's part of the exam. So I'll be doing that specific kind of work. Megan will be helping me with the mind mapping because she's pretty good at that. She's actually very good at it. Then Megan will be working on essay writing and performance test writing in small groups. So you're getting really individualized attention. What you're going to get is really focused training on writing for your jurisdiction where you're writing and Megan is right there, literally looking over your shoulder, helping you write. So that's a unique piece. And then the third part of boot camp is that June will be doing small group mindset coaching. So this is the coaching that she normally charges for in her Climbing the Chaos program. And she's going to take 5 students at a time to do mindset coaching, sitting out in the nice pool area outside the Artisan Clubhouse here in Celebration. And I'm going to be teaching how to mind map and applying photo reading. And then Megan's going to be doing these breakouts on essay writing. So we're putting all that together over 2 days here in Celebration, which is right outside of Orlando. And again, it's October 14th and 15th. Now, the good news is that as I said, we're going to take 15 students for this, this, this boot camp. We still have spots left over, or we still have spots open. So to register, all you have to do is go to our webpage and you will see at the top a boot camp link. And then you put down a deposit, which is fully refundable. We had set a deadline. I believe it was earlier. We had set a deadline of September 10th to pay your balance, but we've actually extended that back. Am I correct, Megan?
Yes, correct. Because we realized that the Florida students are going to get their results back. The people who took the July exam will get their results back just after that, and felt like we should probably give them the opportunity as well. We've gotten a lot of feedback from students saying, I took the July exam. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I really wish that I could go to boot camp if I don't pass the exam. So Means two things. One, if you're a July taker and you're going to get your results before the new September 23rd deadline, then you should hop on that right away and know that that'll be available to you. Number two, that means if you're a February taker not waiting for July results and you're thinking, gosh, I probably want to go to boot camp, you should probably do that this week. Put the deposit in, because I would really hate for you to think, "Oh, great, I have time," and then the Florida students particularly get their results back, and suddenly there's no spots left. Just
Exactly. And the deposit is only $250. It's fully refundable. So let's say you're a Florida July taker and you're not confident in your results. I would put down a deposit. You have no risk at all, 100% no risk, and reserve your spot. And that way, if you pass, you get your money back, you're done. It's easy. And if you didn't, you've got your spot reserved. Now, we are going to hold those 15 spots open to our own students first. If we don't fill all 15 spots, which I doubt, but if we don't, we're going to open this up to people that are not Celebration Ballroom students. So if you're listening to this later in the podcast and you're interested, you can go to the link on the podcast page. You can find that and you place a deposit, and we will put you in a waiting list pending what our students do. We don't know how many students would come to a boot camp in this post-COVID world. So we're taking it step by step. And I'm not going to pretend that in olden days, we were getting 40, 50 students very easily to these boot camps. So I don't know what's going to happen in a COVID world. The other question that's come up, Megan, is why won't you do it virtually? So you want to address that a little bit?
I think to that extent, we already do that in that way of, if you want writing help, I do the personal writing workshop. You should 100% do that with me. You can have coaching with Jackson or with me. You can do mindset coaching with June. The point of boot camp and what makes it really unique is, obviously we're not just doing the same thing. So it's not like you're going to be like, gosh, I already did the personal writing workshop and she's just going to say the exact same thing. But it's that we're talking in a much more interactive environment where we are collaborating, all of us together. You are having, for me, it really varies for each person, but for me particularly, the big key is I can watch you. And I can't do that online. And that is always the thing that just kills me with some of my students, is I'm like, I wish I could just sit there and watch you write out an essay, because in boot camp, I'm able to do that and I can spot immediately, generally, like, here's where you're getting stuck. Okay, great. Now I know how to target for you specifically what we need to do, what strategies you need, as opposed to, I'm guessing or I'm going off of what you're telling me. And sometimes we're not the best judges of our own shortcomings, or the places where we get tripped up. So I think it's for writing, the really big difference is it's tailored to you. I don't want to just send out a video that you could watch later. That's not what we're looking to do here.
And I've taught photo readings for 15 years. And really, when I'm teaching it to you in person, there's no comparison to when you're trying to do it on your own. I can fix problems very quickly, and I can show you how to mind map, and I can show you how to apply it. So all of those things are happening. June is there to do her magic. That's the other way I can put it. And in these small group settings, I think it's going to be very powerful. But then there's this final piece of just being with 14 or 15 other people who are taking the bar for a couple of days intensively. It builds a real spirit of community. It's a great support piece. We will have some guest speakers who are former successful students coming in to talk to you. We make it a fully inclusive experience. All you have to pay for outside the boot camp fee is your travel and lodging. There's plenty of options for all of that here in the Orlando area. The boot camp fee is a very reasonable $2,000 for the 2 days. And I know that some of you are going to say, oh, I can't spend that much. Oh, really? When you think about what you've got at risk in taking the bar exam, $2,000 is nothing. Most of you have paid far more than that for preparation up to this point, for registration and just taking the bar fees in many states. And I'll just finish with this. The people that come to boot camp pass the bar. It's that simple. So if you're really committed to passing, this is something you really should try to do. And you should put in your deposit now. Go to our website, click on the link for boot camp, and you'll be taken to the page. You'll get all the details there, and then you can place your deposit. Final payment isn't due now until September 23rd. So you've got a little bit of time to save up some extra money or make a decision if you want to attend or not. But we really encourage you to attend.
Great. All right, let's turn to some questions. The first is actually about boot camp. It's a great question. This person says, in going to boot camp as a photo reader and someone who makes their own mind maps, will I still potentially need to buy more products or anything, or will most of what I need be a part of the boot camp cost already?
I think most of what you need will be part of boot camp. You're going to get the writing training with Megan. You're going to get the mindset coaching with Jim. And effectively, I do a number of webinars, and you won't need those because we're going to be doing them live. You'll learn how to mind map. So I think you've got most of what you need. It's an investment in yourself. And I think it's probably a good value when you consider what it would cost to add coaching, mindset coaching, webinars, and other pieces. So we really put all that together for you.
Great. All right, next question. This person said, I'm already in the basic UBE prep program. If I want the bar maps to save time, how much do they cost?
Bar maps are $400 for the complete set, and that includes all of the bar maps for all of your state specific subjects or UBA subjects and all of your multi state subjects. So it's all one package, it's all there. Now, bar maps is more than just mind maps. This is also the interactive timestamp versions of the video lectures. So you've got the full video series of lectures where you can go in and find the specific topic you want and not have to watch the whole thing again to get at it. And then it has the fast finish audio, which is the sound compressed air gap version of the video. So the soundtrack of a 4-hour video is reduced down to under 2 hours. All of that is included. The mind maps are there for you to use. Now, you would need to add a MindMeister program if you want to edit those in the computer form, but a lot of students just take them, print them out, and then add to them on their own. So you've got that option. And again, it's for every subject in your course and in your exam. So that's what bar maps is about. You can find bar maps in the Upgrade Center on your online course.
Our next two questions are both about mind mapping. So I'm going to combine them together. So the first is someone who says they're going through the crim law outline. Mind mapping's taking a long time.
Okay, so there's a couple of things about mind maps. Mind mapping should not take more than the time in your course outline. So typically we say 1 to 2 hours after you've done the first part of your reading. And if you're wondering how to mind map, you will find an instructional video. It's about 10 minutes long. It's in unit 3, and it's in the unit about introduction to the MBE. And in that, there will be a section that's called how to create a mind map. The key here is to not spend too long creating the mind map. The goal is to spend just a relatively short period of time and then let the mind map grow as you're working along. So that's my initial response. Now, Megan, you want to give me the actual question?
Yes, great. All right. So this first student said they're going through crim law and mind mapping was taking a long time. So they said, I'll get through it, but should I just be mapping the titles of major subjects and then drill down when I come back to crim law again? And they said they are photo reading each day. So should they just concentrate on the post view? So basically, like, how in depth are you supposed to get in this first pass through of a subject, which is a great
Yes,
question.
it is. I don't think you want to get too far in depth. And that's why I want people to watch that video because I actually show how to create those first couple of levels of the mind map and then let it dynamically expand as you work. I think you want to use the mind maps as the activation step if you're a photo reader, but for everybody, you just want to use the mind map to take your notes and put them in some sort of visual form. Don't get too detailed. That would be my recommendation.
The other person had a similar question of, it says only to spend 1 to 2 hours. So do I just keep going? And it's yes, keep going. Whether or not you mind map, this is true, but particularly helpful for mind mappers is to know that you do a spiral. So you are going to come back around to these topics over and over again. We're at the end of August, but we have a long way to go till February. And so this is not like the last time that you're going to be in crim law. You're going to be in crim law a lot more. It might feel right now like I have to get everything down in crim before I move on because I need to make sure that I know crim 100%. I am there. I've got it before I move on to the next thing. That's not true. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Okay. You will be able to come back as you're doing BE practice in crim. You're going to be adding to your mind map a ton. As you're doing essay work in crim later on, you're going to come back to it. So don't feel that pressure of it has to all get done right now.
And if you're trying to figure out how the mind maps might look, so we're in crim law. I just came down here in the California course. We have some optional assignments at the end of these subjects where when you see something where we say the rule has been explained, this is an assignment in which Megan and I have actually done a mind map and gone through some MBE questions. So if you're looking for examples, these are great ways to get those. And the mind maps are included for those particular subtopics already in your course. So it's a great way to get you started there. And as Megan was saying, when you get into these subjects, you'll find that we repeat and come back over and over again.
Wonderful. All right, Jackson, the last question we've got is about the 2022 Supreme Court term. I know we've talked about this, but we're still getting questions, so we really want to address it to be clear. This one we had questions about, oh, I'm assuming that any content that had changed would be updated, but I'm sure there's nothing that's going to impact the next exam. So let's definitely talk about that because there are changes that will impact the
Yeah.
future exams. Notably, I know we said this last time, I want to say it again. For the UBE, it was only the July exam where they said the new Supreme Court cases would not be testable. That is only for the July exam. For the February exam, we have to move forward with the law as it stands. So that means that anything that is changed in constitutional law has changed for the purposes of the February exam. The good news is we have a lot of resources for you so you don't have to panic about it, including the con law outline has been updated online. It is reflecting current law as it stands right now. So if you have not gotten to con law yet, which should probably be most of you, when you get to con law, the outline that's there is current testable law. So take a deep breath for that.
And I just want to point out that in all of your courses, you've got something called the Update Center. It's in one of the very first units here. And we're going to identify whenever we change something for this exam. Now, let's talk about con law specifically and what we've done. When you get to your con law assignment, study multi-state constitutional law, you will see a lesson that says the 2022 Supreme Court decisions recap. That's a video that Megan and I made going through the specific decisions of the recent term of the court. It also contains a very short outline of those cases. So if you wanted to know a little bit of detail on all the cases, you can do that. More to the point is that our editors took that information, put it into the multi-state book one, and took out the information that doesn't apply. So dealing with Roe or Lemon or some of the other cases, we have removed some of that information. What I want to point out to everyone is that what we did here is that there's a lecture, two lectures in con law. Megan and I decided to not revise those lectures, even though there's some minor discussion of cases like Roe. But instead, if you've watched our video going in, you'll know up front, these are the change areas. And then when you get to the actual lecture, you'll be able to look at it. But part of the reason we didn't make the change, correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, is that we fully expect another raft of decisions coming down this year that are going to make a pretty radical change in what we think con law looks like. And so there's really not a reason to make this change halfway through what I think is a fairly significant movement in the field. Is that fair?
So that means that when you're listening to the lecture, there will be references to Lemon, there will be references to Roe, to Casey. Then after the lecture's done, you can listen or watch the video of us talking about the more detailed pieces of what's happening now. So that means you don't panic. That's us telling you. And that second one, that's us telling you this is what's been overruled, if anything. This was the old test. Here's the new test. Your book has the new tests wherever applicable. Okay. So the outline is 100% what you need to know. The lecture is going to have a couple of things that are outdated, but then there's an addendum. That one will tell you, here's the things that are changed. There shouldn't be any surprises in terms of the things that are changed. It's really, the big changes are really the Establishment Clause jurisdiction pieces and obviously abortion rights. That's what's really changed right now. There shouldn't be any surprises, but we lay it out for you very clearly and succinctly. In your outline, actually, the biggest change, because abortion is honestly not tested very often. So the biggest change in your outline, actually, you might find is that the Establishment Clause stuff, a lot of cases relied on Lemon, and those are no longer, they just don't. they're not applicable anymore because the court's reasoning relied on applying the lemon test. That doesn't really tell us. So the good news for you is actually there's a lot less. I took out quite a bit of words in the establishment clause piece. And so that means there's actually less for you to study and learn now. So there's the bright side of it because there is very little, obviously, we have very little jurisprudence now in this area.
And the other thing that's happening, will happen over the next couple of weeks, is our editors are going through essay questions and multiple choice questions. And where there are questions that are impacted by these decisions, in most cases, I think we're just removing them, aren't we, Megan?
Because we're not allowed to change them. We've done in the past where there have been big changes. If there's a question and it's only like a little piece of it's implicated, sure, fine. We'll keep it in there. We might put a note in that says like part 3 has been removed because it was like the law change. But if it's the real meat of it, if they basically give you a establishment clause one and you're expected to go through lemon, that's really not helpful for you anymore to study that or to practice that. So we'll just go ahead and take them out. We're not allowed to change them because they were written by the examiners and they're under license and copyright. So that means we would just remove them if that was the case.
So I think our advice to most of you, based on the way the courses are designed, very few of you are in time law and will be for a while. I would push that subject back a little bit in your studies. Let us get a little bit further along. Pay attention to what we're saying in these weekly Q&As, and we'll give you a heads up when we think the subject is completely wrapped up from our standpoint. But I would just skip it. If you were at con law this week, I would skip it and push it back a ways. It won't hurt you at all.
Great. Of course, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, please let me or Jackson know. We want to help you. I know this is complicated and confusing. We've tried our best to make it as not complicated, as uncomplicated as possible. The biggest thing was we wanted to get the outline pushed out to you guys as quickly as possible. So we're all set on that. So you can trust that is up to date information. Obviously, it's just a really shifting area of law right now. So makes for a real fun time in the bar review world for sure. But we're here to explain anything if you're unclear on what test you're supposed to use or what's applicable or not applicable anymore. If you can't find the answer in the outline or in the lecture addendum, then just shoot us an email and let us know. All right, Jackson, one last question in the chat box. It's a great question. We're in September now. How many hours a week should we be studying?
I'd like you to be around 20 hours a week. This is where you need to be, is about 20 hours. If you're hitting at least a minimum of 10, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, exactly. And really, I think we always tell people not to plan out too far in advance because you need to give yourself the flexibility of life is going to happen. But I think look ahead in your schedule broadly, right? And say, for me, do I have a lot of obligations, let's say to family from Thanksgiving through New Year's? For a lot of people, that is a really stressful, crazy time where they're going to have a lot of other obligations. Hey, then let's try and hit that 20 hours right now and be thinking ahead and starting early. So let me give myself some breathing room when I get into the holidays and when things get really hectic. If for you, you're like, no, I'm really smooth sailing during that time of year. It's not too bad. Great. Then maybe you're like more like 15 hours a week right now. If that's something that makes sense, because maybe for you, this is a real busy time of your year. We're very flexible with that, but I would really advise people to look broadly ahead and say, what does my life realistically look like for the next few months? Do I need to put a bigger push now in order to let myself breathe a bit later on? That's the hard thing about the February exam is we come out of New Year's and suddenly we're in January and people start freaking out because they're like, oh my gosh, I felt like I had so much time. And now I feel like it's on top of me and I didn't do anything for the last several months. So don't be that person. Get the stuff done now. 2023 you is going to be really grateful if you do it now.
And if you're listening and you're not yet registered, this is the time to get started. Don't mistake that you've got extra time. Now, once we hit the clock on September 1st, every day really starts to matter. So make sure you check in with us and get yourself registered.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackson. It was good to chat with you about all the stuff that's been going on.
It's good to see you. We'll see you all next Wednesday. We'll have more results. We'll have lots more student questions as people start to gear up. And that's the traditional approach to September. So I hope everybody has a good Labor Day weekend. Stay on with your studies. If you have not started, get started. If you've started, continue to keep moving through, and we will look forward to seeing all of you and having a good beginning into the February 2023 season. Thanks, Megan, for being here.
All right, wonderful. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.